A royal firestorm has erupted, and it all began with one explosive statement from Prince William. In a rare emotional tribute to Princess Diana, William broke decades of silence, sending shockwaves through Buckingham Palace. Camilla, Queen Consort, is reportedly shaken. King Charles is caught between his wife and his heir. And Harry? Even he's speaking up. Diana's ghost is back, louder than ever. Forgotten letters, old scandals, and royal secrets are surfacing fast. Is the monarchy unraveling from within? Or is this the reckoning it's long avoided? The crown is cracking, and Diana's sons are just getting started. The bombshell statement that shattered the calm. It came without warning, a rare public statement from Prince William, but this time there was a fire behind his words. Speaking at a memorial event honoring Princess Diana, he used language the royal family doesn't often dare to use. "My mother's legacy is not just history, it is my compass," he declared. The words were carefully chosen, but the impact, immediate and thunderous. For years, William has maintained the image of the diplomatic heir, but in this moment, he drew a clear line in the sand. While he didn't mention Camilla by name, insiders say the subtext was crystal clear. The statement wasn't just a tribute, it was a stance. A royal son, finally speaking from the heart, not the script. Back inside the palace, Queen Camilla reportedly watched the broadcast live. Those close to her say she was visibly shaken. The timing, the tone, the emotional weight, none of it was expected. Some sources claim she asked if a response should be made. Others say she simply left the room, silent and stunned. Either way, the damage had been done. Within hours, the press picked up the storm. Headlines screamed, "William breaks royal protocol. Is Camilla's image under threat?" Public reactions were fierce. Social media lit up. Royal analysts scrambled, but the real question echoed louder than ever. Why now? And what exactly is William saying? "My mother's legacy is not just history. It is my compass." And this wasn't a one-off. Behind that single statement was years of silence, pain, and loyalty. And what came next proved that William wasn't just speaking. He was taking a stand. A son's loyalty. William has always walked the line between duty and emotion. But this moment was different. His statement wasn't just a tribute. It was a warning. The world heard a prince. But behind those words stood a son, a protector, and someone who had finally had enough. "My loyalty lies with my mother's legacy," he said. And just like that, the old rules cracked. The palace has always operated with quiet hierarchy. But William's words showed the beginning of a shift. His loyalty was not toward preserving peace between Charles and Camilla. It was about honoring the pain that came before the crown. Insiders say this moment marks the start of a new royal tone. Truth over tradition. In the days following his remarks, public opinion split, but the impact on Camilla's carefully rebuilt image was instant. Online backlash surged. Old headlines resurfaced. Interviews, clips, and photos from Diana's darkest days flooded timelines. The decades-long PR work behind Camilla's transformation to Queen Consort began to shake. Some say this is William's way of sending a message not just to the public, but to the palace. This isn't about revenge. said one close friend. "It's about respect. He stayed quiet for years, but he's a grown man now, and he's not hiding anymore. He stayed quiet for years, but he's a grown man now, and he's not hiding anymore." And with William making his position clear, all eyes turned to the one person this could hit hardest. Not the king, not the press, but the woman who's walked a long, controversial road to the crown. Camilla's cracking crown. For years, Camilla has worked quietly to rewrite her image. From public enemy to queen consort, her journey has been one of calculated moves, careful statements, and tightly managed appearances. But William's words, though indirect, cracked the surface of that careful mask. The past she hoped to outlive was now back in the spotlight. Critics returned in full force. Social media reopened old wounds. Hashtags trended. Diana's legacy. Queen in name only. Some tabloids questioned if Camilla should even continue as queen. The public wasn't just remembering the past, they were reliving it. William's statement became a spark that reignited at everything Camilla had worked to bury. Palace aides scrambled. They pushed positive press, released carefully chosen photos of Camilla at charity events. But the damage was already spreading. What was once just whispers became headlines. Camilla was being questioned again, not just as a queen, but as a woman whose past had never truly disappeared. "It was always going to come back," said one royal biographer. Diana wasn't just a figure, she was a force. And the monarchy never fully dealt with her absence. Camilla may wear the crown, but Diana still wears the public's heart. Camilla may wear the crown, but Diana still wears the public's heart. And now, the storm Camilla feared has arrived. But the person caught in the middle, the man torn between the two women who shaped his life, one as wife, the other as mother of his son. King Charles in crisis. Inside Buckingham Palace, the pressure is unbearable. King Charles is stuck in an impossible position, a father to William, but also the husband to Camilla. And now, for the first time in years, those two roles are pulling him in opposite directions. His son's words struck deep. His wife's silence said even more. Charles had fought for decades to legitimize Camilla's place beside him. From secret mistress to queen consort, it was a battle against public perception, palace resistance, and even his own son's disapproval. But William's public stand threatens to unravel it all, not with insults, but with unwavering loyalty to Diana. Aides say Charles is rattled. Meetings behind closed doors run late into the night. Crisis teams are working overtime. The messaging is scrambled. Support Camilla publicly or avoid inflaming William. He's afraid, one insider revealed. Not just of backlash, but of losing the fragile peace he's held together for years. He's been forced into choosing between love and legacy, and it's a choice no monarch wants to make. Camilla is his partner, but William is the future, the heir, the image of Diana herself. One wrong step, and the entire monarchy risks looking fractured from the top down. He's afraid of losing the fragile peace he's held together for years. And as Charles tries to hold the present together, the past is roaring back with full force. Because Diana, though gone, is speaking again, and this time through headlines, memories, and ghosts that won't rest. Diana's ghost. More than 25 years after her tragic death, Princess Diana still commands the public's imagination. Her name trends every week. Her image is plastered across documentaries. And now, thanks to William's statement, her story is once again front-page news. It's as if she never left, and the monarchy is feeling it. Diana's old interviews resurface, particularly the infamous BBC Panorama interview where she said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." Her voice echoes across timelines. The pain in her eyes, raw, unfiltered, strikes harder than ever. She's no longer just history. She's a reckoning. For Camilla, it's a nightmare reborn. Everything she tried to distance herself from, the affair, the scandal, the betrayal, is now being dissected all over again. Royal commentators are asking, has the monarchy ever truly confronted Diana's truth? Or have they spent decades burying it beneath titles and PR campaigns? And it's not just the media. Younger generations, who never even lived through Diana's era, are taking her side, sharing clips, wearing her merch, calling her the true Queen of Hearts. William didn't just honor her, he revived her. And now the crown trembles under her memory. She's no longer just history. She's a reckoning. But to fully understand how the present is cracking, we have to go back. Back to the beginning, before the crowns, before the chaos. To the moment Charles and Camilla's affair started, and the fairy tale was already falling apart. Back to the beginning. Long before Diana ever entered the royal picture, Charles and Camilla had already found each other. It was the early 1970s. Young, bold, and drawn together by humor and intellect. Their chemistry was undeniable. But there was one problem. Camilla wasn't seen as queen material. The palace called her too confident, too worldly. So the match was stopped. While Charles was away serving in the Navy, Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles, a military man approved by the establishment. Charles returned to find her gone. The love remained, but the path forward had closed. Enter Diana Spencer, sweet, reserved, barely out of her teens, the perfect bride, on paper. But Camilla never truly disappeared. Even during Charles and Diana's courtship, her presence lingered. Phone calls, letters, quiet meetups. Diana sensed it early, and it haunted her. "There were always 3 of us," she would later say. What the public saw as a fairy tale, Diana knew was already broken. The bracelet said it all. Days before her wedding, Diana found a gift Charles had ordered for Camilla, engraved with their nicknames, Fred and Gladys. It was more than a token. It was a symbol, a cruel reminder that her marriage was built on someone else's love story. There were always 3 of us in this marriage. And that love story, hidden for years, would soon explode in a scandal so massive it shook the very image of the royal family. What came next wasn't just gossip. It was shame, and the monarchy would never be the same. And the bracelet that said it all. Everyone remembers the wedding, the dress, the cheers, the global celebration. But few saw what was really happening behind those palace walls. Just days before the ceremony, Diana discovered a small box hidden among Charles's belongings. Inside was a bracelet, engraved with Fred and Gladys, nicknames known only to Charles and Camilla. It broke her. That discovery wasn't just a betrayal, it was confirmation. Camilla wasn't a memory from the past. She was a presence in the present. Diana confronted Charles, but the conversation went nowhere. "She's just a friend," he said. But Diana knew better. And from that day forward, the fairy tale was already collapsing. She walked down the aisle anyway, not out of joy, but pressure. A 20-year-old girl walking into a monarchy that never fully embraced her. And as she made her way through the cathedral, she scanned the crowd, looking for one face. Camilla's. She was there, watching. Later, Diana would tell friends that her wedding day felt like walking to the slaughter. The dress was beautiful, the smile was practiced. But inside, she was falling apart. The world saw a princess. But what stood at that altar was a young woman already drowning in doubt. I knew the marriage wasn't right, but I had to go through with it. But that pain wouldn't stay private for long. What began with a bracelet would soon explode into one of the biggest scandals in royal history. A phone call no one was meant to hear. But everyone did. The scandal that shamed the crown. It was 1993 when everything came crashing down. A leaked phone call between Charles and Camilla, graphic, embarrassing, and shockingly intimate, hit the press. The world was stunned. The future king talking about tampons? Jokes turned to outrage. Camilla instantly became the most hated woman in Britain. The scandal was dubbed Camillagate. It wasn't just about infidelity, it was about humiliation. For Diana, it was confirmation that she had been fighting a ghost she could never beat. For Charles, it was a public disaster. And for Camilla, a brutal fall from the shadows into the spotlight, and not in a good way. Royal aides scrambled. The palace released no official comment, hoping silence would quiet the firestorm. But the damage was done. Camilla's name became synonymous with betrayal. And when Diana gave her now iconic interview in 1995, it only fanned the flames. "There were 3 of us in this marriage," she said, and no one ever forgot it. Shockingly, despite the fallout, Charles was never punished. Not publicly, not privately. Instead, it was Diana who found herself isolated, cast aside. "They treated her like a problem," said one former staffer, "when she was actually the one who told the truth." Camilla stayed in the shadows, but Diana bore the cost. "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." And through it all, 2 boys watched in silence. 2 sons who saw their mother's tears, heard the fights, and lived in the middle of history's most public heartbreak. Now, they carry her legacy, each in his own way. Diana's legacy, through her sons. William and Harry were just boys when it all happened. But they remember everything. The late-night sobs, the cold shoulders from the palace, the loneliness Diana carried even as she smiled for the cameras. She made sure they felt love at home, even if the walls around them felt like glass. Diana's death shattered their world, but her memory stayed alive in how they lived. William, ever the protector, became more guarded, more controlled. Harry, the emotional one, wore his pain openly and later rebelliously. But both inherited her heart, her defiance, her need to speak truth. As adults, they took different paths, but one thing stayed constant: their silent resentment toward Camilla. Harry spoke about it openly in interviews and his memoir. William never did, until now. His recent statement wasn't just a nod to Diana. It was a quiet war cry. A reminder. We haven't forgotten. Diana's influence remains the one force that shapes both of them, even in conflict. She raised them to lead with love, a former nanny once said, but also to never forget where they came from. William's words prove that legacy still lives, not in silence, but in strength. We haven't forgotten, and we never will. But now that William has spoken, the ripple effect is growing. Inside the palace, tensions mount, public reactions divide, and suddenly, the royal family is facing a fracture unlike anything since Diana's funeral. The fallout is only beginning. Divided royals, divided nation. The moment William spoke, the palace scrambled. Crisis teams were activated. Meetings stretched past midnight, and aides were reportedly instructed to lock down the narrative. But the damage couldn't be undone. William's tribute to Diana wasn't just a son statement, it was a bomb dropped in the middle of the firm. Insiders say tensions are at an all-time high. Some royals quietly back William, believing it's time to stop rewriting history. Others accuse him of destabilizing the family. Lines are being drawn, not just behind palace walls, but across the nation. Public opinion has fractured, and so has the family. Charles is said to be furious, but restrained. He knows reacting publicly could worsen things. Camilla, meanwhile, has gone nearly silent, canceling 2 appearances under the excuse of fatigue. One royal correspondent revealed, "It's the most fragile we've seen the monarchy since the days after Diana's death." Meanwhile, rumors swirl of a private confrontation between Charles and William. One source claims they argued behind closed doors, loud enough for staff to hear. But neither camp confirms it. The palace smiles for cameras, but the cracks are showing. And for many, this is no longer a family issue. It's a royal reckoning. They argued behind closed doors, loud enough for staff to hear. And in the middle of this chaos, a surprising voice may be rising. A brother once estranged, now watching closely. Could this new crisis bring Harry back into the fold, or just deepen the wounds already carved? Harry's unexpected reaction. No one expected it, but Prince Harry responded. From California, where he now lives far from royal rules, he issued a brief but powerful message. Mum would be proud. Just 5 words. But in the context of William's statement, it said everything. A rare moment of solidarity between brothers so long at odds. Harry has been vocal for years about his anger toward Camilla, calling her a source of pain in interviews and in his memoir, Spare. But William had remained silent. Until now? That silence breaking shocked even those closest to Harry. He didn't expect William to say it, a friend revealed, but he respects him for it. Could this be the beginning of healing? Royal watchers hope so, but insiders aren't so sure. The brothers are still estranged, and trust is low on both sides. Still, shared grief over their mother may be the one thing strong enough to rebuild something, anything, between them. The irony? It took a crisis involving the very woman who came between their parents to bring them, even momentarily, onto the same page. The monarchy may be shaken, but Diana's sons may be finding their voices together. And for some, that's the reunion that matters most. Mum would be proud. But if words could shake the crown, a letter could shatter it. Just when the palace thought it couldn't get worse, Diana spoke again, and this time not in an interview, but in her own handwriting. Diana's words come back. It surfaced quietly, a letter written by Diana in 1995, sealed in private and shared only with a close friend. But now, in the wake of William's statement and renewed public scrutiny, the letter was published in full by a leading UK outlet. And what it said was devastating. Diana detailed her fear of being pushed aside by the palace. She spoke of her isolation, her worries about Camilla's growing role, and most heartbreakingly, her sons. "They will grow up knowing the truth," she wrote, "even if I'm not here to tell it myself." That line hit the public and the palace like a thunderclap. Camilla's past, once half forgotten, was now printed in Diana's own words. Public sentiment turned sharper. Calls for Camilla to step back began trending online. Some media outlets even suggested she make a formal apology, or risk losing all remaining public goodwill. But Camilla remained silent. No interviews, no statement. And that silence spoke volumes. "She's cornered," one royal aide said. "There's no way out that doesn't cost her something." The Queen Consort, who once rode a wave of redemption, was now facing the full force of Diana's truth, delivered from beyond the grave. "They will grow up knowing the truth, even if I'm not here to tell it myself." And now the palace faces a final choice: bury the storm or confront it. Because what happens next won't just affect Camilla. It could decide the fate of the monarchy itself. Forgiveness or fallout? Camilla, once untouchable, is now deeply vulnerable. Inside the palace, some say she's lobbying for peace, urging Charles to release a unifying statement. But William isn't budging. "There's no apology," one aide says he told his father. "Not from me, not anymore." His stance is final. Forgiveness, in his eyes, must be earned, not demanded. Behind palace smiles, the truth is chilling. Insiders say everything has changed. Trust between Charles and William is damaged. Camilla avoids family meetings unless necessary. Even the Queen's inner circle is split. Some want to move past this. Others believe Camilla stepping down is the only way to restore balance. But what would that even mean? A queen consort stepping back? A father and son permanently divided? A monarchy once again defined by a woman who never wore the crown, but changed it forever? Diana's shadow is long, and now it's shaping the future. One thing is undeniable. William has spoken. Harry has responded. Diana's words have returned. And the monarchy? It stands at a crossroads between tradition and truth, between silence and justice, between history and what comes next. The crown is heavy, but truth is heavier, and Diana's sons are still carrying it. As the dust begins to settle, or at least tries to, the royal family finds itself standing on unfamiliar ground. The crown, once polished with carefully scripted appearances and tightly controlled narratives, now feels exposed. And at the heart of this seismic shift is not just a woman who passed away more than 2 decades ago, but a legacy that refuses to be silenced. Prince William has broken rank, not with anger, but with resolve. His statement in honor of Diana wasn't just a tribute. It was a line drawn in royal marble, one that separated the past from the truth, one that said, "I remember, and I won't pretend anymore." Harry, across the ocean, echoed his brother's words with quiet solidarity. And for a brief moment, maybe the first in years, the sons of Diana stood on common ground. Different paths, same pain. And one shared mother who continues to shape their lives even now. Camilla, once slowly embraced by the public, now finds herself once again questioned. Her silence is loud. Her past, once smoothed over, has erupted back into the spotlight. And Charles, torn between love and legacy, faces an impossible choice that no king should ever have to make. But the bigger question now looms: what comes next? Does the monarchy pivot? Does it confront its ghosts? Or does it risk repeating its mistakes? Again, one thing is certain: the era of silence is over. The world no longer buys polished smiles without answers, and Diana's voice, through her sons, her letters, and her memory, is louder than ever. Because some stories aren't just history. Some stories are power. And this one, it's only just beginning.